Hi, I'm Jeff Holden. Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. Our purpose and passion is to highlight a nonprofit organization in each weekly episode, giving that organization an opportunity to tell their story in their words to better inform and educate the respective communities they serve, as well as provide one more tool for them to share their message to constituents and donors. Our goal is to help build stronger communities through shared voices and to both encourage and support the growth of local nonprofit organizations through podcasting. Thanks to our partners for their support in getting these stories told. SMUD, Sacramento Metropolitan Utility District's Shine Awards program benefiting nonprofits for energy efficiency. CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations, and Western Health Advantage, a full-service healthcare plan for individuals, employer groups, and families. In this episode, the focus is on the journey of a legacy organization which began in 1955 serving children with cerebral palsy, where it has grown its mission to embrace a wider array of developmental disabilities is nothing short of astounding, as is the recognition that cerebral palsy isn't even the majority of disabilities now supported. Through strategic partnerships and innovative solutions, this organization has successfully navigated the challenges of funding and growth, serving as a model for other nonprofits. United Cerebral Palsy and their leadership under President and CEO Doug Bergman recognize the importance of collaboration, an agile approach to inclusivity, and leadership that is driving its mission forward while recognizing the need for alternative sources of revenue as well. You'll hear how the business end of UCP is also responsible for a for-profit product, adding additional revenue directly to the bottom line, and how the vision of additional programs are already slated and in the works. Doug Bergman, welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me here today. I appreciate it.
I am so excited to speak with you because the scope of the agency that you represent has changed so much. And full disclosure, I was a board member for 8 years, a long, long time ago.
Right.
And these things that I see you doing today are just amazing. So starting from the very top, the organization is a legacy nonprofit. It's been around 70 years.
Correct.
Plus.
Yes.
And the name was United Cerebral Palsy and UCP.
Right.
But even that has changed now to where what the scope of service is so much more than just cerebral palsy. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Back in 1955 when this thing all started, there wasn't many options for children with developmental disabilities to go into any programs. Actually, there weren't any programs, basically, so their only option was to go into an institution. So a group of parents said that's not going to happen to our kids, so they got together. The organization was formed. It's a national organization, but they have affiliates throughout the United States. So the Sacramento affiliate was formed in 1955, and that group of parents is the one that put that affiliate together. So they said, our children aren't going to an institution. We're going to make sure they get out in the community, make sure they go to school, make sure they go swimming, everything that, of course, a mom and dad would want their child to do. So, through the years, we continue to work with exclusively only individuals with CP, but then other developmental disabilities came into play as well, too. And that's where our outreach really kind of went out to the community and said, we can do more. And, nobody should ever go through this by themselves. This is a community, a family effort, we do at UCP. And it's very important, we continue to embrace that through the years. And, fast forwarding to 2025, only 10% of our clients today have cerebral palsy, and most of our clients today are autistic children and adults. But go ahead.
What roughly is the percentage of autism? Because if I'm not mistaken, it's now the largest percentage, right, of the community you serve?
It is, yeah. So, like I said, we serve about 51% of our clients today are autistic, and,
wow.
It's going to continue to grow. We still take care of people with developmental disabilities, Tourette syndrome, any kind of a disability, if they have that, they probably are getting a service from UCP today through our various programs that we have. But the organization, we want to continue to be agile and continue to, grow and sustain. And, that's the way we have to do that, is meet
Well, you certainly have seen what we all call that proverbial pivot point where you just keep pivoting to accept more and more intellectual disabilities,
Right.
of which there are so many that seem to be occurring that maybe we haven't even heard of yet.
Occurring, and we don't service, we don't have enough services today to meet the needs of everybody here in the Sacramento communities, let alone the state of California. But, we are working on trying to, get to that point where we, have those services available. But, Jeff, at the end of the day, it really gets down to people,
Right.
finding labor, to meet that demand and stuff. So it's a challenge, but, UCP's up for the challenge. And I think we've done a great job over the years to, to grow our programs and services.
And you are not unfamiliar, Doug. You've been there now.
20
I
years.
was going to say
Almost
19.
20 years.
I was going to say 19.
It'll be 20 years next
Okay.
March. So, but
Okay. You've seen a lot over the course of that 20 years.
right.
You have a variety of programs, and they are significant in so many different ways. Could you walk us through what the core programs are of the organization?
Sure. I think, our day programs have been with us for many, many years. We have clients who have been in our day programs for over 40 years. So we have a couple clients that are in their 70s. I think we have one client that's 83 that's been with us. And, we're never going to give up on those individuals, right? And we want them to continue to be a part of the program. And, they develop friendships, acquaintances. Sometimes boyfriends, girlfriends. Sometimes that works out.
Any
Sometimes
different,
it
right?
doesn't work out right.
Well, like
they
anybody else.
They have arguments, and don't talk to each other for days and stuff. But we just want to be there for individuals, that need help, and that's our cause, and that's what we wanted to continue to do that. So our day program expansion, we have 7-day programs today in Sacramento, and we serve about 330 adults every day. They come in and out of the program. We provide a transportation for them to get to and from.
And on the day program, I believe that's the program we went and saw.
Yes.
And I was blown away, not only by the spectrum of people you were serving, but by the way that the community interacted with us.
Right.
They were enjoyable. They were happy to see us. They were conversational to the extent that they could be.
Right.
And some to the extreme on the conversational side.
Right.
And we just had a blast walking through the various buildings from youth all the way up to, we didn't see your 82 or 83-year-old. He
I
wasn't
think they're
there.
in another program, but yes. Yeah.
But it was amazing just to talk with some of them and have them explain what it means to them, what the day program means to them, and how they have their chair.
Right.
And what they like about the instructors and the people supporting them in the various activities that they were doing.
Luis, do you like coming to program here?
Yes.
Yeah. What is your favorite thing about coming here?
Go walk, walk one.
So Luis, he uses a wheelchair, but we actually do have adaptive equipment here where we can get him up out of his wheelchair and he can actually walk and take steps. Where typically, if we weren't here to offer that support, he would be only able to use a wheelchair all the time. So here, he's able to build muscles, stretch out his legs, and get up and do laps around the MP room, which is really great for him to increase his mobility.
So it was really, really something. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you.
What are some of the other programs?
So our biggest programs actually are our family respite program. So we serve about 2,000 families in that program.
Wow.
And that is just something that's grown quickly, but it's something, again, that was needed in the community. So a respite really entails that you have a child with a developmental disability. It doesn't matter what age. We would come into your home and give you a break. And so you could go out to you and your significant other, or if you're a single parent, which unfortunately have a lot of single parents raising developmental disabled children and adults. But, you can go to the movie, take a vacation, go to the grocery store, take a nap. If you're just tired and I want to sleep for 3 hours, we'll come to your house and, watch your child or adult, for a period of time. But, it's just it's a respite for not only for the parents, but it's a respite for, the client as well, too. Because, when you're a kid or adult, you need a break from your parents once in a while as well, too, right? So it kind of serves two things there, as far as making sure, people are getting the breaks that, that they need in at all levels. So
How you said 2,000 people you service?
2,000 families. Yeah.
And that's over a course of a year?
No. We'll serve those 2,000 families. We could serve them all in 1 month, actually.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, we've got enough. We've got about, our size of our company, we've got about 1,050 employees, and about 90%, 85 to 90% of those are respite workers.
Okay.
So about 950 or so employees are respite workers that take care of those families.
And would you say respite is the biggest program in terms of its activity for the organization completely?
It's our biggest scope of program as far as the number of clients we serve. So as far as the community engagement, yes, it is. It
Okay.
would be our biggest program that we have in our community.
Okay, so we've got the adult daycare and we've got respite. What are some of the others?
So the other two staples of our organization is transportation. So we have about 70 buses that go out in the community every day. A lot of people don't recognize those buses until they see something about UCP. Then they see them all the time. But
Right.
I don't notice a lot of buses when I'm driving to and from work either. I kind of stay focused right in front of me, what's going on the road. But so our fleet is fantastic. And then we provide transportation not only to UCP, but other organizations here in the Sacramento areas too, to make sure people get to and from their day programs or out in the community, whatever their needs are. So that's our goal to, make sure those needs are met as well there. And then our recreation department, it's a kind of our newer division, I should say. We've had that now for about 3 years. And that's growing very quickly as far as the number of clients, coming into our recreation division. So we'll go bowling, skating. 2 weekends ago, we took a group to Monterey and did scuba diving. So they were thrilled. They couldn't believe it. And I didn't go. But the report I got was just that they were just loved it,
I can only
underwater and
imagine.
stuff. So, but yeah, I never have done that, and just floating. Of course, we have 3 or 4 instructors around them the entire time, so they're completely safe. And the recreation department's brought a couple of other ideas for me. I've had to say no to. One is skydiving, so I said no skydiving, and the other one is axe throwing. So they wanted to do axe throwing. I said nope, not on that one either. So, but they do come up with some pretty good ideas. But there's a limit of what I feel comfortable
Sure.
allowing them to do.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think I even saw somebody in the Sierras skiing on the website.
Yeah, that's correct. So yeah, we take people up skiing and just all kinds of out at Natomas quite a bit, doing rafting, and I think there's a rafting trip coming up actually next weekend. So
Boy,
yeah.
what an experience for somebody who would otherwise
No.
not have the ability to do it.
No, they would not. I don't know of any other program here. I guess there's a couple programs that does recreational activities, but I don't think at the extent that we do as far as scuba diving and rafting. And,
I don't think
some
so
other
either.
stuff. So, but yeah, so it's a thrill
It's
for
extreme
them.
sports for our
Yeah,
children and adults with
right,
intellectual disabilities.
right.
What
right.
a great experience. You mentioned transportation. What about geography?
Mhm.
What is the scope of transportation you provide? How far out do you go?
Basically cover the 5 counties here in Sacramento. I'm not going to go through all of them because I'll probably forget one, but yeah, the 5-county area here in Greater Sacramento. So
Okay.
we start as early as 5:30 in the morning and get back, finish our day sometimes at 6:30 or 7 o'clock at night. So there's kind of a split shift. We have a morning shift and an afternoon shift. And those drivers, I tell you, our drivers are just gold. They just, it's amazing the care and the work they put into making sure our clients are safe getting off and on the buses, and of course why they're on the bus as well too. So I applaud them for the work that they do.
And I would imagine for the benefit of other organizations that are listening to us having this conversation, that there is an opportunity for you to expand some of that service if somebody needs it.
Yep.
And we'll get into that when we talk about funding, because I'm sure it's a fee-for-service provision that you can use to
Right.
help the organization. Collaboration. It's obviously a huge buzzword right now.
Mm-hmm.
But many organizations have been doing it all along, and I know you have as well. Who are some of the key collaborators that you work with, the other organizations and or entities in the city?
Well, our key one is our partner, Alta Regional Center.
Mhm.
So they provide about 90% of our funding. for our budget every year, which is huge. So we want to make sure we obviously stay in good relationship, and they've been wonderful to work with. They really have, and they're a great organization. And California is lucky to have, a regional center, a system here in California like we do. There's very few states that have something that we have here in California. So the regional center has been the big one. I think the other ones, Jeff, is just the community outreach, that we continue to do. We have our big humanitarian dinner every year in June or May or June, and that's a big outreach program. We end up raising a lot of money that night, but it's really outreach, communication, to the Sacramento community as well too, and of course personal donors as well too. I can't thank them enough for folks that give to us personally, or they're part of our estate planning. They've identified themselves as giving an estate plan to UCP once they pass and stuff. So there's just a combination of things that just work here in the community. Grants, work with a lot of grant organizations, to fund money as well, stuff too. So,
And in terms of the dollars into the organization, what about the soft collaboration? Let's say it's maybe a Pride Industries or organizations that also work with developmental disabilities.
Right.
Who are some of those do you interface with, or how do you work with some of those other organizations?
It kind of really depends on the need that we're looking. I mean, of course, we have great relationships with organizations like Pride and others here, Boys and Girls Club and others. But, it just really kind of depends on the need of the organization at the particular time, because needs come and go. When you have a need, you want to try to solve it and, kind of move on to the next need at that point. So, but the community here in Sacramento is just fantastic as far as wanting to help. And I think, Jeff, it's more important about the connections, we have, especially with board members. I mean, we bring you a board member, and we used your connections, when you were on the board, and we have 3 boards actually. So, between the 3, we have about 30 board members, and
It's a lot of board members to manage.
It is. But they are just the resources that they provide in the community is just unbelievable. So,
And you mentioned 3 board members, or 3 boards. So you've got the organization board,
right,
as we know it, for the operation itself,
right,
and then I'm assuming a foundation board.
Board.
And what would be the third?
The third board is actually our for-profit entity. We have under the UCP umbrella, the nonprofit umbrella. So we have 2 functioning businesses under there. It's called RespitTrack. So it's a software timekeeping payroll system that works exclusively with remote workers. So that would be for our respite department. So we call it a RespitTrack to track their time and attendance. And then we have an HR consulting business as well too that was built under the umbrella as well too.
We'll be back to learn more about the services and support UCP provides the community right after a message from those who make our program possible.
Make our communities bright with Smudge Shine Awards. Now through July 31st, your nonprofit can apply for a chance to receive funding for projects that improve and revitalize communities in our service area. We're seeking proposals that support zero carbon workforce development, environmental justice and equity, inclusive economic growth, and STEM education. Smudge Shine Awards are competitive and funds are limited. Submit your proposal by July 31st. Learn more at smud.org/shine.
Hello, this is Scott Thomas with CapTrust in our Sacramento office. I specialize in working with local nonprofits and associations. Annually, we survey private and public nonprofit organizations across the country to better understand challenges they see in today's environment. In our more recent survey, we heard concerns about proper board governance, mission-aligned investment, and how to implement alternative investments. If you would like a copy of the survey or to discuss your organization, look me up, Scott Thomas at captrust.com.
I'm thrilled to have Western Health Advantage partnering with us, as they do so much to support so many nonprofit agencies in our community. As a truly local health plan, you'll find individual and family options, employer options, plans for CalPERS and Medicare Advantage. From medical services to pharmacy, health and wellness support, as well as behavioral health care, Western Health Advantage has a plan that fits what you need. As an employer, for profit or nonprofit business, individual or family, you can find more at westernhealth.com. So on the funding element, you actually have some fee-for-service for profit.
Mhm.
It's a subsidiary of the organization.
Yep.
And I want to ask you a little bit more about that because it's a big topic of conversation today now that the uh, federal budget's been passed and we know what that's going to look like going forward. And it's going to be incumbent on organizations to look for ways to generate additional revenue that is not reliant on some sort of federal grant.
Right.
And we haven't seen the effect of the state dramatically yet, but I'm sure that's coming.
Right.
And we'll see that in the next year.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that because you set this up early. I remember being on the board and you were talking about it back then saying, what if we could do a software
Right.
that we could sell?
Right.
And here we are 20 years later, you've been
Yep.
selling it for some time.
Yeah, we've been selling it now for about 10 years. We have 23 other organizations using the software internationally and nationally, and they love it. I mean, it's a way for them to, reduce a lot of their waste, as far as time and attendance and spending on payroll, paper processing. And that's what we were doing for years, and it just didn't work. So, that business now is generating about almost $500,000 a year in revenue. And, that's revenue that just sinks down to the bottom line, and that revenue, goes over to the organization, to offset some other costs.
You
as
just
well, too.
excited a whole lot of nonprofit organizations going, okay, what can we do?
So my advice to that is this: whatever you're doing really good today, try to turn it into an enterprise. We were really good at respite, but we didn't have the system in place to be great at respite. So we, came up with the software, and it took 3 years to kind of develop it. It took some capital money to develop it as well too. It wasn't free. The organization had UCP actually put the capital money in to make this work. And it just has been amazing. And, we have now a development team, in Texas, and we have a team in India, that kind of keeps the software up to date. And, we've got customers, like I said, throughout the United States. We just actually signed on the U.S. Navy and Army, to use RespitTrack. So, that's a national contract that I think someday is going to go pretty big internationally at some point.
And for those who are wondering what those options are and what those opportunities are, there are other organizations doing fee-for-service, for-profit, as a subsidiary of the nonprofit entity. Doug, that's awesome.
Right.
I'll put Doug's email in the show notes so you can reach out to him to ask.
It's just crazy how it just kind of all came together, and it's a trust thing. And I'm not going to lie to you, it took some time for it to build the business up. It didn't happen overnight. This kind of happened over 10 years. But, I think the next 10 years we're going to double and triple and maybe quadruple, the number we're doing today, because I just think more people are aware of it, and you hear more people talking about it. So it's just something that's passionate. You got to be behind and just make sure it's quality.
Well, and it's what you do well.
Right, it's what you do well.
Yeah.
And the organization's continue to embrace it and be a part of your really a part of your mission at the end of the day.
Well, and as we all look and struggle to say, okay, where do we replace that money that we don't have any longer? What can we do? What does it look like? We all have to think differently.
Right.
We have to think differently, and it's not going to come the way it came.
Yeah.
So,
you got to think about growth and sustainability. You really do. You can't think that it's status quo and it's always going to be status quo. Is not going to. You can't live off of status quo in today's world, today's business world. And for nonprofits, it's a business, Jeff. At the end of the day, the only difference is we don't pay taxes.
Right.
We're exempt from taxes. That's it. Everything else, it's labor, it's workman's comp, it's benefits, it's employment, it's rents, just all those big ones, we still got to work through those on a budget. And at the end of the day, and I've always said this to a lot of people, it's okay for a nonprofit to make money at the end of the day. It's okay for them to make $10,000. It's okay for them to make $100,000. It's okay for them to make $500,000. That just gets fed right back into the organization for growth and sustainability.
And we have to remember that to that extent, and you're not a small nonprofit. You're a $24-25 million nonprofit. That's a big business, relatively speaking.
But we once weren't.
Correct.
We were when I started in 2006. We were doing 4.5 million. So if you have the vision and really the leadership and the team around you to make something happen, it can happen. So, but you just got to think more business than nonprofit. Even though I don't want to. I don't want anybody to think that the clients aren't important. And but that's why we're doing this, is to continue bring more bring more money into the organization, more profit in a day, so we can serve more clients the following year and the following year and the following.
Well, there's no mission with no money.
Right. That's exactly
You can't
right.
do it without income.
Right.
You've got to have the resources.
That's right.
And the more we can stress this, because we hear it, oh, it's a nonprofit. You just took a vow of poverty.
Right.
No. You're right. It's just, it's a tax differentiation. That's it.
That's it.
Run it like a business, and you'll probably find more pleasure in it, number one, and you'll realize that you can sustain and grow capacity.
Right.
Which is what everybody wants to do with their organizations.
To serve the community, to fulfill the mission and serve the community for folks that just aren't as fortunate as you and I are, that need help.
Right.
And we don't leave them alone.
Totally agreed.
Right.
And when people realize that there's an opportunity for other ways to get into the organization, fee for service.
Right.
Oh, I can support it that way. I can't afford to donate, but I have a need that they can service. I'll use that organization versus the other.
Right.
Let's take a tangent here because we're right on it. This is a perfect place to do it. And I know what I want to say in part of it too. Money, no object. So we have somebody who's got this blank check. She's dying to give it away to some organization. If the organization can present properly what they would do with it, you've got an unlimited situation. What would the organization look like?
Well, I think a lot of nonprofits, including myself, I've talked about, it's okay to make money. I still have the mindset, you got to be frugal as possible. And, so even though we might have some excess cash at the end of the year, the first thing is the clients, right? We want to make sure the clients are getting the services they need. So I think all nonprofits would love to have a IT staff, in the building. We outsource ours. It'd be great to have a larger facility, where we could bring maybe 2 or 3 day programs together to really make it feel like more of a campus style, building or an opportunity, for the students actually to interact even more. So I think just having that money available for expansion, is so important because, you could put a plan in place and then 2 years later, I need to grow again. I need more room. I need a bigger building. I need to add on to this building and, to have that kind of resources available as far as excess money or, unlimited money, to do that. I'd love to have unlimited money, but, part of that unlimited money is still going to get invested, into the market and, so it can grow and, have some assets there. You always want to have some money available for that.
Like an endowment of sorts.
Yeah, exactly right. But it'd be nice to have, hey, I got an extra 10 million sitting out here or 20 million sitting out here that, I know what I'm going to do with that in the next 3 to 5 years. So just it feel really good just to know that that's there for the need of your organization and the need for the community when those needs come up.
Okay. And you didn't say it, so I'm going to trigger it.
Sure.
Saddle Pals.
Yes.
So I can see you're going to buy this ranch for all these riders with part of that check.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that, because I know it's one of the programs that you want to reinstate
We do, yes.
with the organization.
Right. Yeah, that would be wonderful to be able to, have 10 acres and, somewhere here in Sacramento. I know there's a lot of great therapeutic horseback riding programs in the outside. Elk Grove and Lincoln, I believe, have two really great ones. But I don't think there's not a need there is a need for one in Sacramento, and there's not there today. So I'd love to. The Sacramento Horsemen's Association actually is starting to work with us.
Excellent.
For an opportunity there, to start the program back up. But it's going to be a pilot program, and horses, I'll just tell you, Jeff, are expensive, expensive to feed, to board, just vets and stuff. And you're going to have several horses there, and it's going to be the right horse, of course, too. It's going to have somebody on the back. So, but yeah, Saddle Pals would be a fun expansion. I think the recreation program would be great to have a rec center, where kids could come into the rec center and just be there part of the day, and then go out to an activity and almost be with us for 7 or 8 hours, like going to school, like in the summer, but they could come to the rec center in the summer and just hang out with us, or even after school, if the parents need a break, they're still working, they can come to the rec center and, there would be little fee, for that. Actually, probably be no fee to them. It'd be, through the regional center would help us with that. So
Almost like a a respite on campus.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Which
Yep.
would be fantastic, or an after-school program so parents don't have to
Right.
panic. Oh gosh, I got to go get my kid. I got to get out of work at 3:00, and
Right.
the challenges that they have, just managing.
Right. We can pick them up at school, transport them to the rec center, and then the
Right.
parents can come pick them up after work and stuff. So the parents, wouldn't even have to worry about after school. They just come to UCP rec center after school, and almost like a daycare, for them for a couple hours. So, but very little cost.
Well, we have some vacant buildings and some vacant campuses around town. Somebody just has to recognize that
Yep.
vision and say, okay, I've got it.
Right.
There we go. Now we're back to reality. What does the situation look like? What is the greatest need that you've got today?
Our greatest need today is our transportation department. So we share a facility on Florin Road with paratransit, and that we are continuing to grow and grow, and we just need more space for fuel, or for buses, fueling, and for office space. So we're currently looking at a couple properties today, and we might have found something that works. We're not sure yet, but I can't disclose who owns the property today. But again, this is just reaching out and talking to the community. I'm asking some board members, who this property owner is. It's actually a national organization, national company, and who your contacts are, because I want to reach out to see, would you donate the building? This company is doing billions of dollars, and they want millions for this building. I said, to me, I think that's just a rounding error for them, for the building that we're looking at and stuff. So it never hurts to ask.
No, and there's a tax benefit there, and you're talking
right.
to about 1,400 subscribers here, and I'll put something in the newsletter.
Right.
So if anybody's aware of a facility
Yes.
that could be a potential opportunity,
Yeah.
we have, roughly 3,500 people use service every.
Around 30. We're 3,100. So 3,100
Okay.
every month.
every.
Yeah, every month.
What an amazing number.
Right.
Now, a little bit on the light side,
Okay.
just as we start to wrap.
All right.
$25 million business is a big business.
Right.
And doing it as a nonprofit entity with all the challenges that you have that are different than most businesses, just because of the constituents that you serve.
Right. Right.
What do you do when you get home? How do you relax? What's even though I kind of know.
Yeah.
What does Doug do?
Yeah, it's, I tell you, over the years, it's something I've had to do a better job of relaxing when I go home, because it was, in the earlier, 20 years ago,
Go.
business was kind of, not as demanding, I guess. I didn't even know we were still building stuff, and, went through a couple periods where, I had to spend a lot of time on a couple different things. And so I think it's just getting home and just trying to just relax and not think. But, there's, with our respite business, it's open 24/7, so you just never know when something may happen, and we do have, unfortunately, incidents where, clients act out,
Sure.
and they don't mean to, but, they could harm, and they have harmed our respite workers in the past. And again, it's no fault on their own, it's just, we need to be a little bit more aware of, of their behavior. But I just like to, get home in the evenings and, maybe have a glass of wine or two. So, but
There's another thing you do on weekends.
what's that?
Golf.
Oh, I do. Yeah, when I can.
Let's not minimize that. I know you love to golf.
So I do. But, over the years, we've had, my wife and I, our kids are older, but now our kids are having kids. So we've got 6 grandchildren now.
Congratulations.
So that takes a little more time, which I'm fine. I'd rather actually, golf is secondary, third, down the road, versus when I get a chance to hang out with the grandkids.
That's great.
It's great. So, but, just finding some time quiet time and, quality time. I just, making decisions all day at work, you just kind of like to get home and, just relax a little bit and have a great dinner with my wife and just talk to her, then we kind of watch, a couple shows we like to watch, and, we kind of, it's a pretty quick evening, it just seems like it goes like that. And, it's the next morning's rolled around already, but I do work out every morning, for an hour, do a kind of a circuit class, and, that probably has helped more with the stress than anything. It's just get out.
I'm glad you said that, because that's
Yeah.
not someplace I would have gone, but I think it's important. All of our leadership, we all absorb so much responsibility.
Yes.
It's just who we are, and we take it on, and it's detrimental if we don't have a release.
Right.
And it's important. Our health is every bit as important as the health of the people around us. But if we're not healthy, we can't serve them.
That's right.
And it's that oxygen mask thing.
Yeah.
You first, then the child.
Right.
Because if you're not well,
If you're not there, yeah.
you can't help.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Good. Oh, and you look like you're in great shape too.
Yeah,
So
I'm probably best shape than I was in my 20s, but it's work. But that's what the hour is about. It's about working hard and working out. And I really don't think anything really too much about work. Once in a while, obviously, if I got some crisis going on, but just a nice relief to do that.
good. What's the best way to learn about the organization?
I'd say, through our website, we've got a lot of links on there for parents who are looking for help.
Oh, okay. So they can actually get
Yes.
and apply on site.
They can go to the link, and we'll link them to the regional center. So in California, any new parent moving to California needs to go through our regional centers. There's 21 of them throughout the state of California to be able to have services, and for the state to pay for those services. But they have to go through a qualifying process. And that's the first thing they have to do. And then once they go through that, then they'll have an opportunity to choose. They don't have to come to UCP. I'd love them to come to UCP, but there's other organizations they can choose for services based on their child or adult's needs.
Okay.
Yeah. But everything's on the website. And if there's no questions, you can obviously call, UCP, and, we'll figure out a time to pretty good about picking up the phone. But if we're not, we'll take a message and get back to them.
Okay. And that website's just ucp.org, www.ucp.org.
UCPsacto.org.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll put that in the show notes as well so that anybody can look and find it if they can't remember, if they happen to be driving as they're listening.
Sure.
Doug, the necessary expansion of so many organizations focusing on intellectual and developmental disabilities, it's staggering. It's amazing what the need is.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we have an organization like UCP that's here, that has served the community for 70 plus years.
Right.
You've been there at least a quarter of it.
Right.
Now, pushing into almost a third of it.
Right.
Is presenting so much equity, so much knowledge, so much familiarity, taking it from $5 to almost $25 million it's amazing. That's as staggering as the need is.
Right.
So, congratulations to you. Congratulations to the team that you've built that has allowed you to do the necessary things for sustainability, for capacity growth, and just looking and saying, what more can we do?
Right.
And running it like a business.
Right.
So thank you. Thanks for sharing it. Thanks for
Welcome.
taking the time today, and I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me again. I appreciate it too.
Happy to do so.
Yes, thank you.
And you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If what you heard moved you, please reach out to that organization and do what you can to help. If you like and appreciate what we're doing to support local nonprofits, please give us a positive review, subscribe, and share. If you're a nonprofit with an interest in participating in an episode, you can reach me at jeff@hearmenowstudio.com. Once again, we're grateful for the businesses who have made this program possible. CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations. You can find them in Sacramento, Roseville, and Folsom. CapTrust.com. SMUD Shine Awards, helping support our nonprofit community with grants for more efficient energy usage. SMUD.org/shine. And Western Health Advantage, a full-service healthcare plan for individuals, employer groups, and families. westernhealth.com.